The latest. Dear husband received an email from mother-in-law about a week ago. Apparently, he blocked the wrong email address or his block didn't work or something. He at least successfully blocked her phone number because she sent him a text saying she'd sent an email, and the text didn't come through until after he unblocked her number. I assume they received their kindness check the day of the email, and that's why this email came then rather than directly after the rock concert blow-up the week before. As with all emails from her, the email was worded as if it were from both her and father-in-law. It began, "Hey kid, this is not a letter to get mad about. We aren't mad, okay? Dad and I made a decision about the monies owed. Now don't get mad, okay? I'm not writing this in a mad mind." Then it explained that they were dropping the $35,000 tuition payback. That was apparently the number they lowered it to. But that they did want him to finish paying back the cell phone insurance bills. They said the amount remaining on that is $1,800, which does sound accurate. There were a couple sentences asking him to tell them about his and my lives once in a while. It ended with, "And Dad had a blast at the concert." Yeah. The only thing I was happy about is that being sued is no longer an issue. We have the debt forgiveness in writing. But to me, this looks like mother-in-law is still trying to control the situation and get what she wants. My guess is that after father-in-law got back from the rock concert and filled her in on everything dear husband said, and then when she got her kindness check, she felt her control slipping and had to do something to regain it. It's possible that father-in-law pressured her to try to repair the relationship, but not likely in my opinion. You guys know this isn't the type of woman to be convinced to do anything by anyone other than themselves. Dear husband needed some time to process and didn't really know what to think. He wanted to know their motives, why they're doing this. I told him he's welcome to ask, but I think it's very unlikely they'll divulge their true motives. Poor guy just wants honesty in return for his own openness with them. He said they would have gotten more money from him if they hadn't handled it so heartlessly, because he's never been opposed to paying them back at least something for college. My overall response is dread. We've been here before. They offer concessions. Dear husband's desire to be a good person is satisfied, and he insists we meet their kindness with our own. We resume a normal relationship with them, seeing them a few times a year, all parties acting like everything's fine. And then they bring up money again, seemingly out of nowhere, for no reason. Dear husband is stunned and devastated. He was convinced their priority was having a normal relationship with their son, but now their words and actions prove him wrong. Deeply hurt, he considers cutting them off and shutting them out. Sensing this, they offer concessions. We've been here before. They're really never going to mention money again after the $1,800 is paid off? They're really never going to ask for anything more ever again for the rest of their lives? Dear husband is inclined to believe they won't. And he says he'll tell them and make it clear that that's how he wants it to be. He doesn't want them to just act like everything's fine if they plan to ask for more money again. And he'll tell them that. He wants them to be honest about their motives and intentions. And he'll tell them that. I told him he can say whatever he wants to say to them, but is that really going to change the way they've conducted themselves for the past 30 years, 60 years? He's acting in good faith and assumes they will in return. Like his mother, it's tough for him to imagine someone could have a different standpoint than his own. He's so primed and ready to trust them, even though they've broken that trust in huge ways on multiple occasions. He went out to dinner with my parents after getting the email and discussed it with them. My mom's suggestion was the same as a few of yours on here. Scrape together $1,800 and send it as a final payment, account closed, payoff amount. Dear husband is still considering this option, but I'm going to keep pushing that as what we should do. At any rate, I'm dreading being pressured by dear husband back into faking a friendly relationship with his parents, only to have to pick up the pieces when they betray him again. But hey, I'm open to being proved wrong. Maybe they really do never mention money again and have a supportive, loving relationship with dear husband from now on. That's what he wants, needs, and deserves, and I'd be happy to see him get it. I just don't think that was what this email was. So dear husband emails her back, short and sweet, the next morning to say he got the email, agreed with some parts, disagreed with others, appreciated the kindness, and needed some time to process before replying. 8 hours later, he gets a reply from mother-in-law. It's 2,137 words long. For reference, the initial email dropping the debt was 147 words. Dear husband's reply was 64 words. I wish I could copy the emails here for you all to read verbatim. The ones from her are difficult for me to summarize because they're very disjointing and somewhat poorly written, and I'm not even faulting her for that. She just has different skills, training, life experiences, education than dear husband and I have. I'm trying to understand why we are going through this problem. Your dad and I sat with you and you agreed to all we all talked about. And Dad and I thought, this is great. We are happy to lend this to dear husband, and he agreed to return it all. We are family, and we all know it's going to work out and trust this decision. Little did we know that we would be told that we were wrong. We never had this discussion and that we are the worst parents in the world for making our son pay back a loan that he could not afford or go through the bank. Mind you, dear husband, I'm not mad while I write this. Just tired of saying the exact same thing over and over, and still we argue. Actually, you argue. There is a reason and excuse for anything we talk about. It's become the norm. I say to your dad every time there is an argument, where is this coming from? This is not the same person who grew up here, not the same person at all. Once you left for school, you became a different person. And every time we bring this money problem up, either you or us, there is exact same response from us, but there are many excuses from you. All of them are completely coming out of the air. The most recent excuse, I think, was when Dad asked for more money after the concert. You told him you were going to a counselor and we were part of that reason. Gee, it sure would have been nice to hear just what we had done to you most of your life. While Dad and I would look at each other speechless, wondering where the boy we raised went. Where was the boy who would never consider hurting his parents verbally and mentally? Let's talk secrets. Mom, Dad, I bought an apartment and moving at the end of the month. Surprise to us, I'm buying a new car. I'm getting married. I'm moving into a house. Surprise, surprise. All this time you were working a full-time job and we asked for a bit more money monthly. You made so many excuses and told us we had done so many things to you that your dad just said, forget, dear husband, keep paying the $100 a month. We never in our life knew how you could do this. I don't know what it is. What has changed you so much from the boy who was so wonderful and loving to a boy who hurts his parents so much? Take away the money issue and think about everything else. We lost you the day you left our home. True, you are on your own and can do what you please without us knowing. That's life. We understand. But to dramatically change to an argumentative person who puts his blame on his parents, who gave him most all they had, is just not the person we know. Where is that person? Where is that boy who was our son that we loved so much? In spite of the abuse we are handed, where is he? You are loved by your friends and your new family. However, they don't know about your upbringing and the love you have from us. They are only hearing what you are telling them. Is it fair to be one-sided like that? I would so hope that hearing our side would make them wonder. Then how would they feel about you? Or will they write us off as you have? I know you hate this letter. I hate writing it. I'm writing it because I'm absolutely tired of Dad and me being the bad guys when we didn't do anything to deserve it. But we know you'll just keep hammering away at us as you've done till you get your way again. Getting your way again. Does that make you happy each time you get that? Does it make you feel good that you keep pounding away with untrue accusations and lies till you get your way? But you know what? We think off and on since this issue happened. Why did we give him such a great life just to have him blame us for everything? A few more things. When you grow up, a kid listens to their parents. They may not agree and can make other arrangements, but they do not put their parents in this kind of situation. That is called growing up. Your dad and I feel many times that we were to raise you, have given you what you needed, then we are out on the back burner, forgotten till you need us for something else. That's sad, really sad. It ends like this. Remember though, for all the infrequent talks we've had, your dad and I spoke the truth. We never made anything up. It's too bad you didn't open your mind to hear that and consider that. And your dad and I would love to hear your discussion without telling us we are wrong, made your life hell, hear what your friends keep thinking we will do if we don't agree with you, and blame us for your life, and accuse us of the most outrageous things, and actually have you hear us. Think hard, dear husband. Think positively. Think honor and love. Think we need to understand each other. Suffice it to say, mother-in-law has a victim-martyr complex the size of the entire Milky Way. She feels that dear husband became a completely different person when he moved out and went to college. But instead of accepting that this is a normal part of life and a normal part of children growing up, she has felt completely, utterly, and continually wronged on a personal level by dear husband in the 10 years since. predominantly because she feels dear husband has unfairly kept her and father-in-law in the dark about his life. She does admit that dear husband moving on was expected, but she obviously needs the call every day type of child, or 3 times a day, and that's not who dear husband grew up to be. Dear husband replies the next morning in 66 words, asking for clarification from her and offering some clarification from himself that he was just asking for more time to process everything because the initial email about the debt was unexpected. She replies about 4 hours later, much shorter this time, 92 words. It begins, "What is there to think about? Fill us in. You're evasive. We don't have a clue what you are saying or doing. We have no idea what you are talking about," etc., etc. Dear husband sends another short reply just a half hour later, finally explaining the literal things that have been going on in his life the past couple days. About 4 extra things in the mornings and evenings on top of his full-time job that have simply kept him too busy to give this issue the time and thought it deserves. I just want to make sure everything I say is what I mean, for all of our sakes. There is a lot to digest in all these emails. The topics in your emails are important to me, and I don't want to give you a rushed, unthought-out response. Basically what he was saying in his past 3 emails, just with extra details included about blood tests and retirement parties and other insignificant crap that they don't really need to know about, or is none of their business, but that clearly his mother has been dying to hear about for 10 years. She then sends 2 emails, the first of which was obviously written before receiving dear husband's last reply. 287 words reiterating her martyr complex. It begins, "Do your dad and I a favor. When you talk to your therapist, ask him or her how your parents are supposed to deal with everything you are going through when we have no idea why you go to him." Fun fact, he's still not going to therapy anymore, by the way, but either hasn't told them or they didn't listen. Then the second email was an extra 5 sentences sent a minute later, finally thanking him and saying that his last email was a start, before pleading for more details about the blood test he mentioned. What is wrong? Help us understand. That was about 4 days ago, so I'm sure she's got 10,000 more words all drafted and ready to go about how hurtful it is for him to keep them in the dark for 4 days, etc., etc. He's used those days mostly as a respite to try not to think about this, rather than to formulate a reply to everything. Weirdly, thankfully, there is no bad-mouthing or slander of me at all, anywhere. I'm fairly certain it's because she dismisses me as much less of an influence than his friends are in his life, apparently. I'm not worth her time or energy, and dear husband totally reinforces that with her. Because here's the problem. Dear husband stated clearly to me that he doesn't want my advice or input on all this. He thinks I'm blinded by hatred or something when it comes to his parents, that my only opinions are invalid because I'm clearly biased against them. He says that I should have forgiveness in my heart since I'm a Christian. I've told him several different things in response to this. I have forgiven them, but that doesn't mean you're supposed to forget their toxic patterns of behavior. You, dear husband, have told me you think I am an intelligent and capable woman, yet you think that's not the case in this one single area of our lives. I'm intelligent and capable in every other issue but this. That doesn't make sense to me. The very reason I seem biased against them is because I'm on your side, and I've watched them hurt and betray you multiple times. But the replies fall on deaf ears every time. Another way he's like his mother. When he has a certain mindset, it is nearly impossible to convince him that the reality may be otherwise. So there's not much I can do. I'll sit back while he takes the lead and gives them a second, fifth chance and says it's their last chance. And when they betray him again, I will try my absolute hardest to get him to stay true to his word that they don't get another chance and they get cut out for good. But he has a bad habit of going back on his word. I don't know what consequences I'm willing to impose if he gives in to mother-in-law yet again after that, because she isn't worth breaking up our marriage for. Perhaps I'll make it clear to him now when he lays out his conditions to them, that my condition will be that I no longer see them, talk to them, or have any relationship with them at all if they fail yet again. Dear husband doesn't want me involved in the decision-making here and doesn't want me to have a say, yet he's continually guilt-tripped me into playing nice with them for his sake, wanting me to fake a polite relationship with them just so they don't cause trouble with him about me. I don't want that to happen anymore. I'll be a good wife and follow his lead if he wants to offer them one last chance, but it'll be my last chance too. The worst part is that when I try to go against him on this, he likens me to his mother. He called me Mom in a derogatory fashion multiple times, the latest just a couple nights ago. I'm trying to thicken my skin to it since I'm clearly nothing like this woman, but as of now, it's still ducking insulting. I talked to my counselor about it at my appointment this morning, and his advice was to keep trying to communicate with dear husband about how I felt and where I'm coming from, and then it's up to dear husband whether he wants to disregard that and basically take his mother's side over his wife's. It's also super frustrating that everything from the in-laws side is framed as both of them together are a team on this. Yet dear husband and I don't get to be a team in the exact same way. All I can do is make sure I take care of myself, do things that help me feel better, like going to counseling and posting on here, and at least validate my own wants and needs, even if dear husband does not. Husband and I are getting a divorce. I told him 2 days ago. We're both 29 years old, been married for 4 years, no kids. I know it's the right decision, but it's still giving me a lot of anxiety and fear and guilt and sadness. Probably all normal emotions, but it feels awful. If anyone has any book or resource recommendations. So hopefully I never have to see or hear from my soon-to-be ex-mother-in-law again. Husband's been sending them their checks. They're moving yet again after less than 2 years in their new place, to be even closer to mother-in-law's dad and stepmother, who are also moving, but only to like the next town over or something. They've all been within like 30 minutes of each other since mother-in-law and father-in-law moved the first time in 2017, and would still be if mother-in-law and father-in-law stayed in that house. But I guess they just need to be even closer to family. And they've probably also fallen out with all their new neighbors already. Husband hasn't been hearing from her much, so I've been hearing even less. Of the several longer, more emotional, dramatic emails or texts he's gotten from her, such as the one I posted about here last, he said he'd reply after he had some time to think, and then just never replied. Not intending it as a lie initially, I don't think, but just never sucking it up and pushing past the aversion to communicating with her. I couldn't care less, other than being curious about how she would respond to his reply. She was on his case a few weeks ago about coming to visit them before they move. This was before we were divorcing, while we were still trying to work it out. He said he could just tell her that we were divorcing, and then she'd hate me forever, and I'd never have to see her or speak to her again. I said I didn't really want to just lie, but that I wasn't going to tell him what to say or not to say to her. I think he just ended up saying that things were rocky, and we were thinking about divorce. At which point she randomly went into sweet mommy mode and said that they were there for him and that he could come stay with them whenever he wanted. He had a good laugh. That's the last thing I heard. It would probably have been more satisfying to have gotten pregnant and then had free reign to dictate exactly how little she would get of what she always wanted. But I barely even care about her anymore. She effed up her own relationship with her son, so she'll never be as close with him as she wants to be. And now he's suffering through a divorce partly because she didn't take care of him emotionally while raising him. And I have to dig myself out of the emotional damage he caused me.